I remember buying diapers. I remember the first time I went in the store right after Malia was born. I was like, what? That's how much diapers cost? I remember changing diapers. You think Donald Trump ever changed a diaper? I almost said that, but I decided I shouldn't say it. Donald Trump is a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he wrote down his...
News President Trump is at the White House right now speaking about the blockade at the Strait of Hormuz. Let's listen.
I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make people better. I make people a lot better. As an example, the 11,000, I understand your husband's going through treatment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He's going through some very serious cancer treatment, so
yes, sir.
This goes a long way.
Yes, sir, it sure does.
Yeah.
Mr. President, are another round of talks planned with Iran? And if so, will you send Vice President J.D. Vance again?
Well, he's done a good job, but Steve and Jared, they've all done a very good job. And I can tell you that we've been called by the other side. They'd like to make a deal very badly.
MAGA Mike Johnson is back to work, finally, after taking a massive vacation after Congress was in recess. He's back, and the House is in session starting again soon, and MAGA Mike is absolutely panicking. Watch as he tries to run away from reporters as he's asked about Donald Trump making social media posts of Trump saying that he's AI Jesus or that AI images of Donald Trump as Jesus. Here's what MAGA Mike says. Let's play this clip.
Speaker Johnson, can I ask you about the president's post depicting himself as Jesus? Was it blasphemy?
I talked with the president about it as soon as I saw it, and told him that I don't think it was being received in the same way he intended it. He agreed and he pulled it down. That was the right thing to do. He explained how he saw that, and I don't think he thought it was sacrilegious at all. So,
do you think he should back down?
I think he showed great respect to others that were doing it.
And as the House and the Senate come back into session, these MAGA Republicans are cheering on higher gas prices, everybody. You've got MAGA Republican senators showing up and saying $4 gas, $5 gas. The key thing is we've obliterated Iran. Really, we've obliterated them. They controlled the Strait of Hormuz, but watch what the MAGA Republican senators are saying. Play this clip.
We're the leading producer of oil in the world. We're exporting more than we're importing. We're not standing in lines. That overall wages have been growing faster than inflation under this president. Here it is. It's going to be tax day very soon, and Americans are going to get an extra $1,000 or $1,500 rebate as well. So I'm sorry the gas prices are going up, but help is on its way. And your national security, yes, is even more important than your pocketbook.
I got another MAGA Republican senator for you, Rick Scott, saying all the government does is mess up your life. Government is always the problem. Dude.
In November 2011, Donald Trump sat in front of a camera and said the following words: "Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures he's going to get reelected is to start a war with Iran." He was talking about Barack Obama. He posted those words on his official YouTube channel in 2011. He repeated them in 2013. He said in September of that year, "Obama will someday attack Iran in order to show how tough he is." He said it again in November 2013. Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate, not skilled. Donald Trump spent years warning the American public that Barack Obama was going to start a war with Iran, that only a weak, ineffective, unskilled negotiator would go to war with Iran, that attacking Iran would be something a desperate politician did to get reelected. On February 28, 2026, Donald Trump started a war with Iran.
My fellow Americans, mahalo. As some of you heard, the state of Hawaii released my official long-form birth certificate. Hopefully, this puts all doubts to rest. But just in case there are any lingering questions, tonight I'm prepared to go a step further. Tonight, for the first time, I am releasing my official birth video. Make clear to the Fox News table, that was a joke. That was not my real birth video. That was a children's cartoon. Yes, I think it is fair to say that when it comes to my presidency, the honeymoon is over. For example, some people now suggest that I'm too professorial, and I'd like to address that head on by assigning all of you some reading that will help you draw your own conclusions.
Very badly.
What was the sticking point over? You said it was over nuclear.
It was over nuclear, very similar, yeah, very good. I guess you're listening. It's over the fact that they will never have a nuclear weapon. Iran, you marking it down? Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. And we agreed to a lot of things, but they didn't agree to that. And I think they will agree to it. I'm almost sure of it. In fact, I am sure of it. If they don't agree, there's no deal. There'll never be a deal. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and we're going to get the dust back.
Your government, Trump is government. Y'all control all of the branches. It doesn't have to be this endless cycle of you using government to harm people. There's a way to uplift and support. But go on, MAGA Republican Rick Scott, who was involved in the largest Medicaid and Medicare fraud criminal scam and scheme in United States history at that time. Play this clip.
I mean, what Mondami is doing is great for Florida. It's horrible for the people in New York. I mean, now he's going to open up a grocery store. I used to work in grocery stores. Is the government going to run a grocery store? What does the government run well? I can't think of anything the government runs well. All government does is mess up your life.
I want a...
Government's always the problem.
All right, so MAGA Mike and his MAGA goons in Congress not doing a great job. All right, so what does Donald Trump do? All right, send out Kevin Hassett. So the Trump regime sends out their national economic advisor, Kevin Hassett, to try to clear everything up. And he's like, I get it. I understand that those members of Congress and senators are saying that the gas price is going up. He's like, but look, there's good news. There's silver lining. You know what it is? The oil companies are making a killing. The oil companies are making so much damn money right now. Here's what he says. Here, play this clip.
While it's very frustrating to go to the pump and see what the price of gasoline looks like, that the benefit for oil producers and workers in those industries is significant enough that the GDP effect in the U.S. is much smaller.
Now, what about MAGA Republican Senator Tim Scott? What's he going to offer us? Here's what he has to say. Play this clip.
Now,
are you going to be able to message all of this, Senator, before the midterm elections? I mean, you've got to message that national security is a priority. You've also got to message your affordability calls in the face of oil prices that are up 50% in the last month.
He quietly had those videos removed from his YouTube channel. But the internet does not forget, and Barack Obama has not forgotten either. Drop a comment right now. Write 2011 if you already knew that Trump warned for years that only a weak, ineffective president with no ability to negotiate would start a war with Iran, and then became exactly that president. Subscribe if you haven't. $9 a month in the description. Now let's go through everything Obama has said about Trump in the past year, because this is a story that has been building all the way to the most devastating speech of 2026. Let's start with what Obama actually built, because you cannot understand Trump's obsession with destroying it without understanding what it was. In 2015, after 18 months of complex multilateral negotiations involving the United States, China, Russia, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and the European Union, Barack Obama signed the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action with Iran.
I am fired up. I am ready to go. It is good to be back in Jersey. Good to be back. I love you, Bob. I love you. Oh, that's a good-looking crowd right here. It is good to be back. It is good to be back in Jersey. Good to be back in Newark. You know, I just came from a rally down in Virginia. They were kind of loud, but they definitely got some competition right here.
Well, they're still lower than they were under President Biden, so that's good news. Number one, yes, affordability will be solved. Number two, the gas prices are coming down. Number three, we can thank President Trump and Republicans for doing both.
Senator, great to see you this morning.
And then you have Chris Wright, Donald Trump's energy secretary, and he's like, yeah, gas prices today are over $4 a gallon. But see, he uses the same talking points there by Tim Scott. Still cheaper than Biden. Biden. Okay, you know, Biden hasn't been in office for a really long time. Your whole promise was that you were going to lower prices, and they're going up. Here, play this clip right here.
Yes, we have gasoline prices today over $4 a gallon, still $1 less than they were in the Biden administration, and we're ending a 47-year conflict with Iran. So this is the road to more secure and lower long-term energy supplies. But it does mean higher prices today, probably means higher prices for a few more weeks. But I'm proud of President Trump to have the courage to take on just a growing problem with Iran, not just growing for peace and stability, but growing risk to energy resources coming out of that region. Soon they'd have nuclear weapons and a massive missile arsenal, and no one would be able to take them down. Proud of the president's actions. Does cause a few weeks of dislocation to the American economy, but we're going to get through it and get to a much better place afterwards.
And even the Fox hosts are saying, gosh, everything's so expensive, we can't afford anything. Let's play this clip.
Let me think. Gosh, everything is so expensive. And what happens when you have a child is no longer are you buying things for yourself. Right. Everything goes to that child, and you think about them constantly.
Under that deal, Iran agreed to relinquish 97% of its enriched uranium stockpile. It agreed to eliminate 70% of its centrifuges. It agreed to stop plutonium production and dismantle a plutonium reactor. It agreed to continuous international monitoring of every nuclear facility. In exchange, Iran received relief from economic sanctions. The deal had been backed by Trump's own first-term advisors, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and Defense Secretary James Mattis, who pleaded with Trump not to tear it up, arguing it was working. Trump tore it up in 2018. He called it the worst deal he had ever seen. He said he was honored to knock it out. He said Obama's name, Barack Hussein Obama, at a Medal of Honor ceremony in 2026 while announcing the Iran war, the same way you say a name when you want the crowd to boo. He said the deal would have given Iran the right to have top-of-the-line nuclear weapons. That is false. Every independent expert confirmed it is false. But Trump said it anyway because Trump's relationship with the Obama-Iran deal is not about policy.
So when you're at home, can you run down to the kitchen in your underpants in the middle of the night if you're hungry?
I mean, I could. I don't.
You don't?
No.
Is there someone in the kitchen at all times? Like if you wanted a sandwich in the night, would you have to wake someone up?
Yeah, I wouldn't wake somebody up to have a sandwich.
You're allowed to go in the refrigerator on your own?
I am. There's a refrigerator and there's silverware.
When was the last time you actually cooked?
Now, it's been a while since I cooked.
It has been a while.
It has been a while. I won't lie about that.
Do you ever drive?
I cannot drive. I mean, I'm able to drive.
Is it because you don't have a birth certificate?
Yeah, exactly. In Kenya, we drive on the other side of the actually, the last time I drove, a former staffer came by, and he comes through the South Lawn, and he's got one of these new electric cars. At the time, they were new.
Yeah.
And he was very excited about it. I said, well, yeah, let's try it out. So I just grab his keys, and we just go out. It's parked right in front. And I start circling the South Lawn. And the Secret Service, no matter what you do not let him out. And they were pretty upset.
They call you renegade, right?
We'll get it back either. We'll get it back from them or we'll take it.
Mr. President, as far as the naval blockade is concerned, what's the end game? Is it to force Iran back to the negotiating table? Is it to open up the strait so that gas prices ultimately come down?
Maybe everything. I mean, both of those things, certainly, and more. We can't let a country blackmail or extort the world, because that's what they're doing. They're really blackmailing the world. We're not going to let that happen. And the amazing thing is, we don't, can you believe this? We don't use the strait. We don't need the strait. We have our own oil and gas, much more than we need. We have more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia. Think of this. We produce more. Saudi Arabia, and add Russia to it. Substantially more. And by next year, we'll have double that amount. So we don't need it, but the world needs it. And many ships are heading to our country right now as we speak to load up with the best.
And now I want to bring in Keisha Lance Bottoms, the former mayor of Atlanta. You also were the senior advisor to former President Biden as the director at the Office of Public Engagement. Of course, a candidate for Georgia governor, and we're seeing all of these massive swings in these elections right now. So people are going to be very focused on this Georgia governor's race. Even a lot of MAGA people are saying, watch that Georgia's governor's race. It could swing blue, and people think that you could be the person. So we're looking forward to that. And you're out with a new book, so you're pretty busy. The book is called The Rough Side of the Mountain. It's out April 21st, and pre-orders are available right now. So let's talk about it all. But I think I want to talk about first just what's going on in this country right now, because you know a state like Georgia better than anybody. And you've seen Georgia as basically this swing state. It's got 2 Democratic senators. It's got a Republican governor. I know you're hoping to change that right now. And we've seen these massive overperformances by Democrats in election after election, frankly, starting at the beginning of Donald Trump's tenure, if you whatever you want to call it, this bizarre president's dangerous and unlawful criminal presidency. And right now we're seeing these swings even get more dramatic. Are you seeing even bigger changes in Georgia? I mean, when you have Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that Donald Trump needs to be removed, invoke the 25th Amendment, and I think yesterday she called him the Antichrist as well. I think there may be changes afoot, but you're seeing it closer than I am.
Yeah, we are. And even in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, when you saw that shift, I'm not one that normally celebrates losses, but when you saw that Sean Harris came or closed that gap in her district when he was just on the ballot a couple of weeks ago, 12-point difference in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district between a Republican and a Democrat, that's huge. And we are seeing these shifts across the state. Last November, we elected 2 Democrats to the Public Service Commission. That's a really big deal because it hadn't been done in nearly 30 years. And now there's an opportunity for us to flip the governor's seat. And I'm really excited about the campaign and the momentum that we are seeing across the state. And Republicans are really afraid. They've already put $44 million into Georgia, or they've committed $44 million to Georgia to take out Senator Ossoff. I'm sorry. So there's a lot going on in the state. All eyes will be on Georgia again, and it's an opportunity not just for us to flip the governor's seat, but also the House, hopefully.
It is about jealousy. It has always been about jealousy, because here is what CNN reported on April 10th, 2026, as the ceasefire Trump declared was already collapsing. Analysts were asking whether Trump would get a worse Iran deal than Obama, not a better one, a worse one. After a war that killed 13 Americans, pushed oil to $100 a barrel, brought gas to $4 a gallon, collapsed the Strait of Hormuz, and threatened civilization with destruction on Truth Social. The question being asked is whether Trump, after all of this, will end up with a deal worse than the deal Obama got without firing a shot. The answer, according to the 10-point plan Iran presented and Trump accepted as the basis for the ceasefire, appears to be yes. Iran gets to keep enriching uranium. It gets sanctions relief. It gets control over the Strait of Hormuz as a permanent negotiating lever that it did not have before the war began.
Others say that I'm arrogant, but I found a really great self-help tool for this: my poll numbers. I've even let down my key core constituency, movie stars. Just the other day, Matt Damon. I love Matt Damon.
over the course of the...
You know, a lot of people nationally got to know you a bit better during the horrors of the first Trump regime, with you standing up to him during the COVID pandemic, and you standing up to him, you know, as he provoked tensions and made things, you know, far worse than an already, you know, very difficult and challenging situation. So you know how to manage and lead in crisis. And so, you know, I'm just wondering about your reflections in the moment we're in right now, because here we are again with this Trump regime, and it's crisis after crisis and manufactured crisis after manufactured crisis, where it's just ruling by chaos. You know, and that's where I think people are sick of it, regardless of your political party. It doesn't have to be this way of just constant chaos. And also, I think it's resulting in bad outcomes. I think that's an understatement, where this chaos, whatever you even want to call it, is resulting in America being weaker, allies moving away, America shrinking, and it's deeply problematic. So talk to us about that, because to me, there's just a leadership issue right here that should be bipartisan.
Yeah, it should be. And what's happening when you have Trump in the White House is it creates this trickle-down effect of anxiety, of just overall fear and concern, quite frankly, of what the future holds. When I was mayor of Atlanta for 3 years, under the first Trump administration, for example, during the family separation crisis, I made the decision to close our city jail to ICE because we didn't want to be complicit in what was happening regarding immigration. We ended a multi-million-dollar contract, and states and cities across the country ended up following suit. We also, I threatened to pull our local police officers who were assigned to the federal task force if they didn't allow our officers to wear body cameras. The Trump DOJ ended up changing their policy. So I give these examples to say he creates chaos. He brings uncertainty to just your daily existence as a leader.
As Fareed Zakaria said on CNN this week, what this war has done is handed Iran a weapon far more usable than nuclear weapons, which is the Strait of Hormuz choking off global supplies. Trump tore up Obama's deal, started a war, got a worse deal, and is now calling it a total victory. Barack Obama has watched all of it. Barack Obama does not speak casually. This is important to understand before we go through everything he has said in the past year about Trump. Obama is disciplined. He chooses his moments. He rarely mentions Trump by name. He speaks in ways that require his audience to fill in the blank, and his audiences always know exactly what to write in that blank. In April 2025, Obama spoke at Hamilton College in New York. He talked about what he described as a U.S. government actively trying to destroy the international order it had spent decades building. He said the thinking seemed to be that since the United States is strongest, it can just bully people into doing whatever it wants. He said, and this is a direct quote,
"We miss you. Why did you leave us with him?"
You know, I've got to follow the Constitution and Michelle's mandate, which was I had 8 years and then we had to get out of there.
The Constitution seems a little shaky lately, so I think Michelle's mandate is a lot stronger. How are you? Thank you for doing this. It's great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and I enjoyed your book. It is quite a book. I mean, it really is interesting and long. It's very long. It's 701 pages long. Did you make it that long to make sure Trump never reads it?
You know, I don't think it would have had to be 700 to make sure he didn't read it, from what I hear. But, you know, as I said in the preface, I didn't start off wanting to write a book that long, but as you start getting into it, you know, you realize, first of all, I want people to understand how I was making decisions.
Media post that you took down earlier today, the White House says that a staffer sent it. Who sent it, and are you going to fire them?
I looked at it, I saw it, and I just looked at the first part. It was about voter fraud in someplace, Georgia. There's a lot of voter fraud, 2020 voter fraud. and I didn't see the whole thing. I guess during the end of it, there was some kind of a picture that people don't like. I wouldn't like it either, but I didn't see it. I looked at the first part, and it was really about voter fraud and the machines, how crooked it is, how disgusting it is. Then I gave it to the people. Generally, they'd look at the whole thing, but I guess somebody didn't. And they posted, and we took it down, and we turned it.
But you are empowered to fight back, and that's what we need in this moment. We're going to need leaders who are willing to step up to fight back, to do things that may be unconventional. We are seeing that already across the country, and I think that's the momentum that we need to take into this election season. I can say under the first Trump administration, there were a couple of reasonable people in the White House that you could at least get on the telephone. I don't know that those people exist in this Trump 2.0, but we're going to have to elect leaders like me who aren't afraid to push back and also willing to do things that haven't been done before in order to stand up on behalf of our communities.
You know, and leaders who I think aren't afraid to discuss kind of our shared humanity for the short time we all live on this earth together, what it means to coexist and interact as human beings, and to sometimes look past the gamification of politics and focus on why do we even have a body politic to begin with, because it's supposed to deal with making people's lives better. And I think that's one of the things that you cite for inspiring you to write this book, The Rough Side of the Mountain. I mean, you talk about how, you know, I'm not revealing too much here, but this is what you say in the book. So I'm quote, you know, where you talk about, here I am in my early 50s. I had this great political career. I was mayor of Atlanta. I worked in the White House. I worked in an administration. And I'm reflecting on my life in general, you know, talking about my dad, the loss of his life, his drug abuse earlier on in his life. What did that mean to me? Deeply personal things that impacted you, that are experienced by lots of people, you know, as well, and not shying away from talking about, you know, these things, because ultimately talking about our shared humanity, to me, that's ultimately what's going to cut across party lines. Not talking about, the Democrat and the Republican and this personality. To me, the cult of personality kind of brings us in a downward spiral, but the shared humanity, I think, uplifts. And to me, that's one of the messages that I took out of The Rough Side of the Mountain.
If we see a piece of land, be like, who's going to stop us? Greenland looks good. Greenland looks good. In a speech at a college, Barack Obama. In July 2025, at a private Democratic fundraiser in New Jersey, Obama issued what he called a call to action. He said Democrats needed to toughen up. He said the moment required less navel-gazing, less whining, less being in fetal positions. He said, do not tell me you are a Democrat, but you are disappointed and not doing anything. Now is exactly the time you get in there and do something. That was July. The same week, Trump stood in the Oval Office next to the president of the Philippines and accused Obama of treason on camera, without evidence. He said Obama was guilty. He said this was treason. He said it was every word you can think of. He had pivoted from a reporter's question about Jeffrey Epstein directly to a diatribe about Obama's alleged criminality.
At a moment when Donald Trump's political standing with the American people is at its lowest, so low that it's lower right now than it was after the insurrection, after Donald Trump sent a mob to storm the United States Capitol on January 6th. So at that moment, enter the most popular and beloved living president of these United States of America and watch him come out swinging. President Barack Obama making a forceful case against Donald Trump, as only he can do, tying Donald Trump's flagrant and brazen corruption, his contempt for the rule of law and human rights, and facts and science all together with a bow on top at stops in Virginia and New Jersey over the weekend. The president was campaigning for Democratic gubernatorial candidate Mikey Sherrill. Obama called the Trump administration, quote, all tricks and no treats. Watch.
It's hard to know where to start, because every day this White House offers up a fresh batch of lawlessness and carelessness and mean-spiritedness and just plain old craziness.
Well, thank you for that. And you're absolutely right. I think for me, it was realizing you don't have to be perfect to lead. And it's okay to show who you are and be authentic in who you are. Because at the end of the day, people are looking for people who understand them and who aren't judgmental, but saying this is where we're going to meet everybody where they are, and then hopefully work together to take each other for there. So it was really cathartic to write this book, and I was really thankful that I had a great therapist with me as I wrote it, because I did unpack a lot. I did talk about my dad, Major Lance, who was this great R&B singer who gave Elton John his start in music, his professional start. And the struggles that he faced and how it impacted our family. I talk about my infertility journey, my adoption journey from my 4 beautiful kids. I talk about a lot of things, the inappropriate touching of a neighbor, my eating disorder, just things that I just never talked about publicly. And quite frankly, many of these things I hadn't processed personally. But it was good to be able to write about it and to be able to share my story. And I hope that people will take from it. We aren't looking for perfection. We don't need perfection. We just need people who have a heart for service. And whether it's running for office or just showing up to vote for somebody, there's all a small part that we can play in making the difference. And right now, as we're facing all of this uncertainty and craziness coming from this guy in the White House, it's calling upon all of us to do what we can, whatever that thing may be, big or small.
Everybody, go out and order the book right now. Pre-orders are available right now. Search The Rough Side of the Mountain. We appreciate you for joining us as always.
Thank you so much.
Everybody, Keisha Lance Bottoms, get the book.
A pivot that CNN noted in real time did little to dispel the impression Trump was using Obama to deflect from a scandal about Epstein. Obama's office responded. They said they did not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response, but these claims were outrageous enough to merit one. They called the allegations bizarre. They called them ridiculous. They called them a weak attempt at distraction. A weak attempt at distraction. Obama's office said that about the President of the United States accusing the former President of the United States of treason from the Oval Office while dodging a question about Jeffrey Epstein. In November 2025, Obama was on the campaign trail in Virginia and New Jersey. He tore into Trump with what Deadline described as a ferocity rarely seen from him in public. He said it was like every day was Halloween, except it was all tricks and no treats. He talked about the dangers to democracy. He said the country was watching things that were not supposed to be possible. Before I keep going, drop a comment right now. When Obama's office called Trump's treason accusation a weak attempt at distraction.
Is that there? Yeah. Because you're tooling around in an electric car, topping speeds of 30 miles an hour.
Yeah. I think we have 35. Yeah.
If you have to go to the dentist, do you go to the dentist?
No,
or does
dentist comes to me.
Dentist comes to you. Do you have the chair, the tools, and you
got
spin
the whole
on the
chair.
floor?
Everything is all there.
Everything
set up.
is there.
Yeah, in the basement. I didn't know. I showed up. I said, I think, I've got a cat that's loose. Sir, here we are.
Do you reset the clocks when daylight saving time happens?
Somebody else does that for me.
Somebody does that for you. Will you get rid of daylight saving time? Or at least get rid of the part where we have to wake up earlier? You can leave the other one.
Well, see, this is a California thing, because you guys are always getting sun.
Yeah.
In the East Coast.
Yeah, they cheated in every way possible, and it's the only way we got an incompetent man to be a president. And he was an incompetent man. Many of the things that we're talking about, even including this would have been settled a long time ago, not now. And it should have been settled by other presidents. But the election was a rigged election. We can't let that happen to our country.
It's concealment of exculpatory information. What should happen?
Well, it's a very serious charge against them and the Democrats. They cheat. They can't get elected with their policy. So their policy's no good. They want to have, open borders. They want to have men playing in women's sports. Do you think that men should play in women's sports?
I really don't have an opinion on that.
You don't, I'll bet you do.
No, I'm here about
pizza.
No tax on tips.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is it your understanding that during this period of time, while the U.S. has instituted this naval blockade, that oil companies will be able to send their oil tankers through the strait, get more oil out from this area?
Yeah, I think they're going to be doing very well there, and I think they're doing very well here.
Donald Trump has fired Attorney General Pam Bondi. Let me repeat that. Donald Trump has fired Attorney General Pam Bondi. According to multiple sources and as reported by the Daily Mail and others, Pam Bondi was begging not to be fired last night before Donald Trump gave the address to the nation when Trump told her, "I'm going to fire you." She was begging over and over again. We're hearing it was very dramatic. She was almost crying. "Please don't fire me." Well, she just got fired moments ago. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche will now serve as the acting Attorney General. Donald Trump posted a message that Pam Bondi will now be in private practice. She will be far away from the government, although she'll probably use her private practice job to do things with the government, but more on that later. Pam Bondi is a great American patriot, Donald Trump posted, and a loyal friend who faithfully served as my attorney general over the past year. Pam did a tremendous job overseeing a massive crackdown in crime across our country, with murders plummeting to their lowest level since 1900. They were already plummeting under former President Biden. Donald Trump goes, "We love Pam." I'll translate that for you. "Don't tell anybody about the Epstein secrets, Pam." He goes, "We love Pam, and she will be transitioning to a much needed and important new job in the private sector." Pause there. What, probably helping people get pardons with your administration, with her family? "To be announced at a date in the near future." Why would you have anything to do with that? And our Deputy Attorney General, a very talented and respected legal mind, Todd Blanche, will step in to serve as acting Attorney General. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump. As I mentioned, the Daily Mail exclusive, Bondi begged Donald Trump not to fire her during dramatic White House showdown, as Insider reveals his final straw. Also, the Daily Mail reporting that Trump told Pam Bondi shortly before the Iran speech on Wednesday night that she would soon be fired.
While Trump was literally pivoting from an Epstein question to an Obama attack on camera in the Oval Office, is that the single most perfectly timed response from a former president in modern American history? Comment now. Then let's get to March 2026. March 6, 2026, Chicago, the House of Hope megachurch on the South Side. The funeral of Reverend Jesse Jackson, who had died at 84 after battling progressive supranuclear palsy. In the room, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, Kamala Harris, Al Sharpton, Jennifer Hudson, Isaiah Thomas, and Barack Obama. Donald Trump was not there. Obama spoke for nearly 30 minutes. He talked about Jackson's legacy, about the 1984 and 1988 presidential campaigns that cracked the ceiling for candidates who came after, about what Jackson meant to a 22-year-old child of a single mother with a funny name who watched those debates and thought, maybe there is not any place where I do not belong. And then, at the end, Obama turned to the present. He did not say Trump's name. He did not need to.
But that was a voter fraud that nobody talks about. They don't like to talk about that post. We took it down as soon as we found out about it.
Mr. President, a number of Republicans are calling on you to apologize for that post. Is that something you're going to do?
No, I didn't make a mistake. I mean, I look at a lot of thousands of things, and I looked at the beginning of it. It was fine. They had that one post, and I guess it was a takeoff. By the way, a lot of people covered, if you look at where it came from, I guess it was a takeoff on the Lion King. And certainly it was a very strong post in terms of voter fraud. Nobody knew that was at the end. If they would have looked, they would have seen it. And probably they would have had the sense to take it down. But that was a takeoff on the Lion King.
Trump's reasoning for the sudden dismissal comes in part because the president believes Bondi tipped off Eric Swalwell about the FBI's efforts to release investigative documents relating to his relationship with Christine Thing. I think it has a lot more to do with the Epstein files and the cover-up that Donald Trump wanted being botched by Pam Bondi. But okay, this was the moment where state regime media, which calls itself Fox News, confirmed that Pam Bondi was out as AG and Todd Blanche would be the interim AG. I want you to watch the moment that took place. Let's play this clip.
Kaylee, I just got off the phone with President Trump. We have a big scoop. Pam Bondi will soon leave her job as the Attorney General. She is going to get a different job within the administration. It doesn't sound like there is any bad blood between her and President Trump, but it does seem like they want her to go and do something else. And in an interim role, she will be replaced by Todd Blanche, who is currently her deputy at the Justice Department. So it doesn't sound like Blanche is being elevated long term to the Attorney General. There might be somebody else that the president wants to go in there. But President Trump soon will announce to the entire world that it is the end of Pam Bondi's time as the Attorney General. He still thinks that she is a great person and that she did a good job. And he still wants her in the fold because she will still be an important part of the administration, he tells me, but no longer as the top law enforcement officer of the United States. That, at least for a little while, is going to.
We are living in a time when it can be hard to hope. Each day we wake up to some new assault on our democratic institutions, another setback to the idea of the rule of law, an offense to common decency. Every day you wake up to things you just didn't think were possible. The crowd responded. He kept going. Each day we're told by those in high office to fear each other and to turn on each other, and that some Americans count more than others and that some don't even count at all. Everywhere we see greed and bigotry being celebrated, and bullying and mockery masquerading as strength. We see science and expertise denigrated, while ignorance and dishonesty and cruelty and corruption are reaping untold rewards. Every single day, greed and bigotry being celebrated, bullying and mockery masquerading as strength, ignorance and dishonesty and cruelty and corruption reaping untold rewards. In a church, at a funeral, on live television, in front of Biden, Clinton, Harris, and 3,000 people on the south side of Chicago.
We've got a president who thinks it's okay to use the Justice Department, just for example, to use the Justice Department to go after his political opponents. And wait. Here's a rule. You can't boo. You gotta vote. They won't hear you if you're booing, but they'll hear your vote. So you've got a president who replaces career prosecutors with loyalists who will do his bidding, and now he's telling them to hand over millions of taxpayer dollars that he had to pay in expenses for previously violating the law. We've got a commander-in-chief who has fired decorated military officers because he thinks they might be more loyal to the Constitution than they are to him. No, don't boo. He's deployed the National Guard in American cities and claimed to be stopping crime waves that don't actually exist.
Some of the Democratic Congress members saying, look, Pam Bondi is set to have her deposition taken before the House Oversight Committee on April 14th. She's still under subpoena, so what's going to happen to that? Democratic Congress member Maxwell Frost posts, Pam Bondi still has to testify under oath in front of the Oversight Committee regarding the Epstein files. This does not get her out of that bipartisan, lawful subpoena. We will see her soon. Democratic Congresswoman Summer Lee posts, "So glad I didn't listen to James Comer when he told me to stop bitching about impeaching Bondi and holding her accountable. As you're aware, Congresswoman Lee was leading the impeachment efforts, and the impeachment documents were going to be introduced as soon as Democrats took control of Congress, and Bondi would have been impeached." Pablo Manriquez, Midas Touch DC correspondent, writes, "Someone needs to find Jamie Raskin so he can say, 'Who's the washed up loser lawyer now, Bondi?'" Remember though, last week too, there was a sign that I was focused on a lot that Bondi's days were numbered when MAGA Republican Congress member James Comer was also throwing Bondi under the bus. Watch this, let's play it.
Well, I think the Justice Department has botched this. I don't think anyone in America, Republican or avid Trump supporter, would defend the way that this has been rolled out. Having said that, it's very complicated because of all the lawsuits. And here's another thing.
And let's just rewind a little bit and watch Bondi's career collapse. Remember back in February when Bondi gave that interview on state regime media, right when they pulled that stunt with the influencers at the White House holding the fake Epstein files, that little thin binder. And then she's like, okay. That wasn't it, but I've got the files on my desk. Remember that? Play this clip.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
3 weeks after Trump launched the Iran war, and 11 days after Pam Bondi was fired, 3 days before she was supposed to testify about the Epstein files. And then, near the end, someone in the crowd shouted, "One more term." Obama smiled. He said, "I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Constitution." A direct reference to the fact that Trump has repeatedly suggested he could serve a third term, and that the 22nd Amendment does not apply to him. Obama said it quietly, smiling, in a church. While the crowd cheered, Trump was not there, but he was in every sentence of that speech. Here is the bottom line. In 2011, 2012, and 2013, Donald Trump repeatedly warned that only a weak, ineffective president with no ability to negotiate would start a war with Iran.
We got masked ICE agents pulling in unmarked vans and grabbing people off the streets, including U.S. citizens. Don't boo, vote. Grabbing them on the suspicion that they don't look like real Americans. We've got Health and Human Services Secretary who opposes proven science and then peddles quack medicine. We've got a top White House aide who calls Democrats, the whole Democratic Party, domestic extremists. And then we've got some poor labor economist who got fired for accurately reporting bad job numbers that Trump didn't like. It's like every day is Halloween. Except it's all tricks and no treats.
That is so insulting to me. It's a very terrible thing that you said.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Remember when she called Jamie Raskin a washed up lawyer? Remember that? You were a washed up loser lawyer. Okay, Pam Bondi, you're telling a constitutional scholar Congress member that he's a washed up loser lawyer? Okay, here, play this clip.
I mean, you can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order. Time, and I should get back at least 45 seconds. We will give you a few more seconds. I said that already. 45 seconds. Okay.
Remember Bondi's crash out over Epstein, her famous line, the Dow is over 50,000. Here, play this clip.
The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin. The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about. We should be talking about making Americans safe. We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan.
Committee will be in order.
On February 28, 2026, Donald Trump started a war with Iran. In 2015, Obama negotiated a deal that eliminated 97% of Iran's enriched uranium without firing a shot. In 2018, Trump tore up that deal. In 2026, after a war that killed 13 Americans and pushed oil to $100 a barrel, Trump's ceasefire gave Iran control over the Strait of Hormuz, sanctions relief, and the right to enrich uranium, a deal analysts are already calling worse than what Obama got by negotiating. In July 2025, Trump accused Obama of treason from the Oval Office while dodging an Epstein question. Obama's office called it a bizarre, ridiculous, weak attempt at distraction.
Those extreme views were not in my White House. I wasn't embracing them. I wasn't empowering them. I wasn't putting the weight of the United States government behind extremist views. And that is when we have the weight of the United States government behind extremist views, we've got a problem. Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems since he rode down his golden escalator 9 years ago. It has been a constant stream of gripes and grievances that's actually been getting worse now that he's afraid of losing the Commonwealth. There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes. I heard someone compare Trump to the neighbor who keeps running his leaf blower outside your window every minute of every day. From a neighbor, that's exhausting. From a president, it's just dangerous.
Mr. Jordan, am I going to get an extra 45 seconds added to my time?
The committee will be in order. The time belongs to the gentleman from Texas. Ms. Bondi, the Attorney General can respond.
Thank you. The Dow has shattered 50,000 for the first time. This is crazy. They said it couldn't be done in 4 years, yet President Trump has done it in 1 year.
And then remember the stunt Bondi tried to pull 3 weeks ago, where you could see how desperate she was with 24 hours notice, the way she tried to get out of her April 14th subpoena date where she's going to be deposed by the House Oversight Committee. She showed up in front of the House Oversight Committee on 24 hours notice voluntarily. She's like, I'm showing up to talk to you about Epstein. And then she's like, I'm going to tell you everything I would say at the deposition, but I'm just not going to do it under oath. And the Democrats walked out. They're like, we're not going to be with this charade. Like, we're not going to be there at all. Like, you're just trying to get out of your subpoena deposition. And the Democrats walked out, and then she left, and people are like, so are you going to try to avoid your April 14th deposition? You know, you're still under subpoena. And she was like, I will follow what the law says. Well, if you were going to follow what the law says, you shouldn't be covering up the Epstein files, and you're still concealing millions of documents. Here, play this clip.
Sure. Earlier this month, a bipartisan group of lawmakers on the House Oversight Committee voted to subpoena you to appear for a closed-door deposition. Will you commit to complying with that subpoena and appearing for a closed-door deposition?
I made it crystal clear I will follow the law.
Most recently, Donald Trump said, though, that Bondi is terrific. She's proving how tough she is. The next 3 years, she's going to really prove how tough she is. And again, this was pretty recently when Donald Trump said this, so just goes to show you he'll make comments like that, and then he'll fire you in a second, even if you beg the way Pam Bondi was apparently.
On March 6, 2026, at the funeral of Reverend Jesse Jackson, Obama told the world that we wake up every day to new assaults on democratic institutions, that greed and bigotry are being celebrated, that bullying and mockery are masquerading as strength, and that ignorance and dishonesty dishonesty and cruelty and corruption are reaping untold rewards. He said he believed in the Constitution when the crowd asked him to run for a third term. He never said Trump's name once. He did not need to. Share this video, subscribe. $9 a month, link below. And comment now, which was more devastating. Obama calling Trump's Iran deal accusations bizarre and ridiculous from the Oval Office. Or the Jesse Jackson funeral speech where greed, bigotry, bullying, and corruption reaping untold rewards landed in front of 3,000 people and a live television audience? This is America Facticity. I'll see you in the next one.